stop talking. Yes, you heard me right. The most powerful thing you can do to blow a man's mind in bed has nothing to do with your words and everything to do with your presence, your confidence, and your energy. If you master this, you won't need to say a single word, and he'll never forget you. There's a language more powerful than words. It's the language of energy, connection, and intention. A woman who understands how to communicate through her body can unlock a level of intimacy that most never reach. In this video, I'll show you 6 silent moves that will not only surprise him, they'll change how he sees you forever. Eye contact is not just a glance. It's a declaration. It's one of the most powerful tools a woman has, not just in bed, but in life. And yet so few use it with true intention. Most people look to see, but the rare woman looks to command. In the most intimate moments, the way you look at a man tells him exactly what kind of woman you are. It tells him if you're hesitant or certain, if you're trying to impress, or if you already know you're impressive. This is why eye contact, when done with confidence, has the power to blow his mind without a single word spoken. It's the kind of gaze that doesn't seek approval. It assumes it. And that kind of confidence is deeply magnetic. You see, in a world full of distractions and insecurity, true presence is rare, and eye contact is the purest form of presence. When you hold a man's gaze in bed, not shyly, not nervously, but with full awareness of your own worth, you're doing something most women don't even dare. You're telling him, I'm not here to be chosen. I'm already chosen by me. That look carries an entire identity with it. It says you're a woman who knows herself, a woman who doesn't need to perform, pretend, or compete. You're not afraid to be seen. You're not afraid to take up space. You're not afraid to let him feel you fully. And this isn't about being seductive in the way the world often teaches women. It's not about batting your lashes or trying to look sexy. That's surface level. That's a game. This is about something deeper, more primal, more unforgettable. When you lock eyes with a man during intimacy and you hold that gaze without fear, you are meeting him at the level of soul, not just body. You are saying, I see you. I'm not running from this moment. I'm here for all of it. That kind of authenticity shatters the masks that people wear. It makes the moment real. So many women underestimate the power of simply looking with depth, looking with certainty. It's not a stare, it's an energy. It's the energy of a woman who doesn't flinch, who doesn't look away because she's unsure of her own beauty, her own value, her own power. A woman who knows she is a gift. And let's be very clear, when a man feels that kind of gaze on him, he doesn't just feel aroused, he feels seen, he feels wanted, respected, drawn in. And in a world where most men are used to being admired for performance, being seen, truly seen, is rare and revolutionary. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I feel insecure? Let me tell you this, your power does not come from being perfect. It comes from being present. You don't need to have the perfect body or the most experience to hold a man's attention. You need to decide to own the moment. You need to decide that you are enough and let that decision show in your eyes. Because when you believe it, he'll feel it. And when he feels it, he will never forget the way you looked at him. That's what leaves a mark. There's something ancient and wild in a confident woman's eyes. It's not something you learn from a book or a YouTube tutorial. It's something you remember. It's in your blood. It's in the silent strength of women who came before you. When you channel that when you look at a man not with neediness, not with desperation, but with calm certainty, you awaken something in him that is hungry for depth, hungry for truth, and hungry for the kind of a connection that goes beyond the physical. And the truth is, this kind of eye contact isn't just about him. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the way you see yourself. When you hold eye contact during intimacy, you're not just showing him your strength. You're reminding yourself of it. You're saying, I am not small. I am not hiding. I am here, all of me. That level of presence is healing. It builds confidence, not just in the bedroom, but in life. Because once you know how to look someone in the eyes with that kind of power, there's nothing you can't do. So don't underestimate it. Don't dismiss it as a small gesture. Eye contact is your anchor. It's your signal. It's your unspoken declaration that you are a woman who knows her worth and refuses to play small. It speaks volumes without uttering a word. And when you use it fully, you don't just blow his mind. You open his heart. Because the truth is, the eyes are not just the window to the soul. They're the mirror of it. And when you look at a man like that, you're not just showing him who you are. You're reflecting back to him the man he wants to be. And that is unforgettable. Breathing is one of the most overlooked tools of intimacy. And yet, it holds the power to transform an ordinary moment into something magnetic, unforgettable, even transcendent. When a woman breathes with intention, she connects not only to her body, but to the moment, to her partner, and most importantly, to her power. The truth is, most people don't know how to breathe. They hold it in, they shorten it, they rush it, especially in moments of vulnerability or intensity. But when you slow down, when you breathe deeply and deliberately, something incredible happens. You come alive. Your body awakens. Your presence deepens. And he feels it, all of it, without you needing to say a word. Breath is energy. It's rhythm. It's life. It's the difference between going through the motions and fully feeling every sensation, every movement, every connection. When you breathe with intention in bed, you give your partner permission to slow down too. You change the pace. You create atmosphere. You draw him out of his head and into the present. And for a man, especially in today's overstimulated, fast-paced world, that kind of grounding is rare. Most men are stuck in performance mode, constantly wondering if they're doing enough, being enough, pleasing enough. But when he feels you take a long, deep breath, when he hears it, feels it, absorbs it, he instinctively relaxes. He becomes more tuned in, more connected, and suddenly the experience stops being about technique and becomes about presence. Think about it. When someone you love takes a deep breath next to you, when they exhale slowly, softly, doesn't your own nervous system respond? Doesn't your own breathing begin to mirror theirs? That's the power you hold. Your breath is a signal, a message. It tells him, I am here, I'm open, I am feeling this, and it's contagious. Your calm becomes his calm. Your intensity becomes his intensity. Without a single word, your breath creates a conversation. And when you take ownership of that conversation, the entire dynamic changes. A woman who breathes like she means it is a woman who is not afraid to feel. She doesn't run from emotion, sensation, or connection. She leans into it. She expands into it. Her breath isn't just functional. It's expressive. It rises when she's excited. It slows when she's focused. It deepens when she's surrendering to the moment. And a man can feel every shift. That kind of presence is intoxicating because it shows that you're not just there, you're in it. You're not disconnected. You're not distracted. You're fully embodied. And that, more than anything else, pulls him in on a level that words never could. Now, this doesn't mean you need to perform. You don't need to make dramatic noises or exaggerated sighs. This isn't about acting. It's about awareness, authenticity, control. It's about being aware of your breath, choosing to own it, and allowing it to guide the moment. And yes, this takes courage, especially for women who have been taught to minimize themselves, to be quiet, to not take up too much space. But I want you to know this. Your breath is not too much. Your presence is not too loud. You are not here to disappear. When you breathe fully, deeply, and unapologetically, you are reclaiming space. You are saying, I deserve to feel pleasure. I deserve to be here. I am not rushing this. I am worth slowing down for. And that kind of energy is transformative, not just for him, but for you. Because the more you practice breathing this way, the more you begin to carry that presence into your daily life. You walk differently, you speak differently, you live differently, you stop chasing validation and start creating connection. You stop trying to perform and start embodying power. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. A man might remember what you did in bed, but he will never forget how you felt in bed. He will remember the woman who didn't hold her breath, who didn't hide, who didn't rush. He will remember the way your breathing made him feel more grounded, more alive, more wanted. He'll remember the atmosphere you created, not with noise, not with words, but with the silent, steady rhythm of a woman who owns her body and her desire. So if you want to blow his mind without saying a word, start with your breath. Don't fake it. Don't force it. Just feel it. Breathe as if every inhale connects you to power and every exhale releases permission to fully surrender. Let your breath say what your lips don't need to. Let it teach him the language of depth, of presence, of true connection. And once you master that, you won't just be unforgettable. You'll be unmatched. Movement is one of the most powerful, primal forms of communication. And in the realm of intimacy, it says everything about who you are. The way a woman moves tells a story. It reveals whether she's confident or hesitant, whether she owns her body or tries to hide it, whether she feels worthy or unsure. And here's the truth. A woman who moves with purpose, not permission, is a woman who blows a man's mind without saying a single word. Her movement isn't random. It's not reactive. It's intentional. It's deliberate. It says, I belong here. I am not waiting for approval. I am not seeking permission. I already know I'm enough. Most women were taught to shrink themselves, to move carefully, politely, not to be too much, not to seem aggressive. But in doing so, they were taught to disconnect from their own power. Purposeful movement doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being aware. It means being rooted in your body. It means you aren't asking the world or the man in front of you if it's okay to be seen, to be felt, to be bold. You decide that you are. And then you move accordingly. Think about it. How does a queen walk into a room? Slowly, gracefully, with poise and command. She doesn't rush. She doesn't fidget. She doesn't apologize for her presence. She owns it. She moves like the space already belongs to her. That same energy applies in the bedroom. When you move with purpose, you're not rushing. You're not reacting to him. You're not waiting to see what he wants first. You are creating the experience. You are leading with your energy. And that is unforgettable. This doesn't mean you need to dominate every moment. It means that every movement, whether bold or subtle, is infused with intention. When you touch him, you mean it. When you change position, you do it with full awareness. When you lean in closer, it's not a question, it's a statement. You're saying, I trust myself. I trust my instincts. I trust this moment. That kind of confidence radiates. It draws him in. Because nothing is more attractive to a man than a woman who is in her body, not stuck in her head. And here's what happens when you begin to move like this. You start to feel differently too. You stop wondering, am I doing this right? And you start thinking, how do I want to feel right now? You stop performing and start connecting. You stop hesitating and start creating. And the man in front of you, he'll feel it instantly. He'll feel the difference between a woman who's unsure and a woman who's fully tuned into herself. One is waiting for direction. the other is the direction. And men, especially powerful, grounded men, are magnetized by that. But let's go deeper. Why is movement so important, so magnetic when done with purpose? Because movement is energy in action. And energy is what creates chemistry, passion, and depth. A woman who knows how to move slowly, confidently, in rhythm with her breath, in alignment with her desire, is a woman who becomes unforgettable. She doesn't rush. She doesn't shrink. She doesn't fumble. And even when she does make a mistake, she owns it. She laughs, she recovers, she keeps going. Because purposeful movement isn't about being perfect. It's purposeful movement, and also communicates boundaries and standards without confrontation. When you shift away from something that doesn't feel right with calm confidence, he gets the message. When you lean into what you love without waiting to be asked, he gets the message. You are a woman who knows what she wants, and that is irresistible. That speaks louder than. And don't forget this, your body is not an object. It's a force. Every curve, every motion, every breath is part of the symphony that is you. When you treat your body with reverence, when you move like you're sacred, he will treat you that way too. But it has to start with you. You can't wait for him to grant you permission to feel powerful, to feel sensual, to feel in control. You give yourself that permission, you take up that space, and when you do, everything changes. When was the last time you moved with intention? When was the last time you let your body lead instead of your fears? When was the last time you let yourself feel without apology, without overthinking, without holding back? That is your task. That is your challenge. To step into that power, to move like the moment belongs to you, because it does. To stop seeking validation and start embodying your value. Because once you learn to move with purpose, not permission, you don't just blow his mind. You rewrite the story of who you are, and you never go back. Silence. It's something most people are afraid of, especially in moments of intimacy. We live in a world that's addicted to noise, constant talking, performing, explaining, overthinking. But there is a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's powerful. A silence that speaks louder than words ever could. A silence that holds depth, tension, and undeniable presence. And when a woman masters that kind of silence in bed, she doesn't just captivate a man. She transforms him. She reaches him on a level beyond the physical. She invites him into a space most men rarely get to experience. A space of real, raw, unfiltered connection. This kind of silence is not awkward or passive. It's not the silence of insecurity or confusion. It's the silence of a woman who is so deeply in tune with herself that she doesn't need to fill space just to feel valid. She doesn't need to narrate every feeling, every move. She knows that true intimacy doesn't always need explanation. Sometimes the most unforgettable moments are the ones where nothing is said, but everything is felt. That is the kind of silence that speaks volumes. That who are adjusting with silence has learned something most haven't. That presence doesn't require noise. That stillness isn't lack. It's strength. That holding space rather than filling it is a mark of emotional maturity and confidence. In bed, this shows up in powerful ways. She isn't rushing to validate his experience or prove her own. She isn't performing for approval. She is simply there fully, completely. And her silence becomes an invitation. An invitation for him to slow down, to tune in, to feel more deeply than he's used to. This kind of silence creates tension. The good kind. The kind that builds anticipation, electricity, mystery. It makes him lean in, wonder, crave, listen. It forces him to become more aware of his own body, his own breathing, his own instincts. And that is where true chemistry is born. Not in the constant noise, but in the quiet space between heartbeats, in the pause, in the stillness, in the calm before the storm. Because when silence is held with confidence, it creates impact. It says, I don't need to perform. I don't need to explain. In the experience, but let's be real, embracing silence takes courage. Most people talk because they're nervous. They fill the space because they don't want to feel vulnerable. They rush through moments because the stillness makes them uncomfortable. But if you want to blow a man's mind and reach him in a way that most never do, you have to learn to sit in the quiet, to breathe into it, to let it speak for you. Because silence, when owned, is not emptiness. It's power, it's tension, it's authority. A silent woman who is present is unforgettable. Not because she's withholding, but because she's centered, grounded. She knows that her value doesn't come from what she says. It comes from who she is. And her silence tells him you're in the presence of something rare. It's the silence of a woman who's not trying to be chosen because she already chose herself. It's the silence of someone who's not begging to be seen because she already knows she's worth looking at. The silence also gives him in space. Space to step up, space to explore, space to bring his presence, his energy, his initiative. And when you hold silence well, you become the mirror. You show him not just who you are, but who he can be in your presence. You teach him how to meet you with depth. You raise the standard not through criticism, not through noise, but through the quiet strength of a woman who knows her worth. And perhaps most importantly, silence allows you to listen, not just to him, but to yourself, to feel what you want, what you need, what feels good, what doesn't. When you're not constantly speaking or reacting, you can hear the truth underneath the moment. You become more connected to your instincts, your desires, your power. And that inner awareness translates into outer impact. You'll feel it in the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you look at him. He'll feel it in the stillness between words, the pause between touch, the quiet that holds everything. So don't fear the silence. Learn to use it. Learn to trust it. Learn to let it speak for you. Because when a man is with a woman who can hold silence with grace and confidence, he feels something ancient and rare. He feels mystery. He feels depth. He feels invited, not with words, but with presence. And that kind of invitation, that kind of woman, she doesn't need to say much. Because once she learns to wield silence, touch is one of the most powerful languages we have as human beings. Mm-hmm. And yet, most people touch out of habit, not intention. They touch because they think they're supposed to, not because they feel something meaningful behind it. But when a woman learns to touch with intention, not out of obligation, everything changes. That kind of touch wakes a man up. It pulls him out of head, out of the noise, and into a place where he feels truly seen, valued, desired, not just as a body, but as a man. And that, for him, is unforgettable. Think about it. We touch people all the time. A pat on the back, a quick hug, a brush of the hand. It's casual. It's automatic. But when you pause, when you become aware of what you're doing, when your hand moves with presence, that's when it becomes electric. That's when it stops being routine and starts becoming a message. Touch with intention says, I'm here, I'm feeling this, I choose this moment, and I choose you. That's the difference between forgettable and unforgettable, between passive and powerful, between going through the motions and leaving a lasting imprint on his mind. When you touch with intention, your hands become an extension of your emotions. Every stroke, every caress, every grip is backed by feeling. It's not rushed. It's not mechanical. It's not done just because this is what happens next. It's slow, it's deliberate, it's thoughtful. And a man feels that. He feels the difference between a hand that's checking a box and a hand that's saying, I want you. I'm here with you. I'm not somewhere else. I'm not doing this because I feel like I should. I'm doing this because I mean it. And men crave that. They crave to be touched not as a performance, not as a duty, but with genuine feminine energy that is present, warm, alive. When you touch with purpose, you invite him into something deeper. You let him know he's not just wanted for what he can do or how he performs, but because his presence matters to you. His body, his skin, his warmth, his soul, all of it is acknowledged. All of it is welcomed. And most men rarely experience that. Too often, touch becomes transactional. It becomes part of the routine. It's about checking off steps or satisfying expectations. But a woman who touches with intention is not operating from routine. She's creating an experience. She's crafting a moment that feels sacred, rare, and deeply human. Her fingers linger. Her palms connect. She reads the energy of his body like a language. She listens through her touch. She responds to what she feels. And that responsiveness, that intuitive connection, it's powerful beyond words. This kind of touch doesn't come from blatcher. It doesn't come from a sense of obligation. It comes from ownership, from choosing to be fully present, from choosing to feel, not just act. It requires self-awareness. It requires slowing down. It requires letting go of the need to do it right and instead doing it real. That's what he'll remember. He won't just remember where you touched. He'll remember how, the energy behind it, the intention, the connection, the way you weren't just going through the motions. You were in the moment. And yes, this applies to every kind of touch, not just the most intimate ones. Even a hand on his chest, a slow trace along his arm, a soft press to the back of his neck, when done with presence, can be more powerful than any grand gesture. It's not about how much you touch, it's about how you touch. A single, intentional moment of contact can say more than 1,000 words ever could. When you touch him with intention, you teach yourself something too. You remind yourself of your own power. You reconnect with your own sensitivity. You realize that your body is not just something to be looked at. It's something that gives connection. That creates energy. That transfers emotion. That can calm or excite or ignite. And that realization is empowering. It brings you back into your own body. It grounds you. It strengthens the bond between you and yourself. And what happened if you slowed down? What would happen if every time you reached out to him, you brought your awareness with you? What would shift if you stopped doing what you thought you should? And instead started touching from a place of truth, emotion, presence. That's when magic happens. That's when a man looks at you and sees not just a woman who touches him, but a woman who moves him, who stirs something deeper in him than he even knew was there. And when that happens, you're no longer just sharing a moment. You're creating a memory he will carry with him long after the night is over. A memory that whispers, she didn't just touch my body. She touched something inside me. That is the power of intentional touch. That is the power of a woman who gives, not from obligation, but from ownership, from truth, from presence. And that woman, she is unforgettable. She is rare. She is the one he can't stop thinking about. Not because of what she said, but because of how she made him feel with nothing more than a touch. Self-respect isn't something you turn on when you walk into the boardroom and turn off when you walk into the bedroom. It's not situational. It's not negotiable. It's the foundation of how you move through life. And nowhere is it more powerful, more magnetic, and more necessary than in your most intimate moments. Because when a woman radiates self-respect in the bedroom, she doesn't just change how a man sees her. She changes how he sees himself in her presence. She sets the tone. She defines the atmosphere. She becomes a mirror of depth, of integrity, of dignity. And that energy, it is unforgettable. Self-respect and intimacy doesn't mean being cold, withholding, or distant. It's not about control or superiority. It's not about playing games or keeping someone on edge. It's about honoring yourself fully, unapologetically, even in your most vulnerable states. It's about recognizing that your body is not just a place of pleasure, but a place of power. That your boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations to deeper trust, greater connection, and real, meaningful intimacy. When a woman carries self-respect into the bedroom, she moves differently. She carries herself with grace, not because she's trying to impress, but because she knows her value. She's not desperate for attention. She's discerning with it. She's not trying to prove anything, that she's living from what she already knows to be true. That she is worthy of love, of pleasure, of tenderness, and of reverence. And that energy creates a force field. It elevates the entire experience. Because she's not looking to be completed. She's all, and men feel this. A man can tell when a woman is grounded in herself, when she knows what she deserves, when she's not bending to seek validation, but standing strong in her own truth. It changes how he responds to her. It awakens something deeper in him. Because whether he can articulate it or not, men are drawn to women who value themselves. Not just on the surface, but deep down. A woman who says with her presence, I know who I am and I know what I will and will not accept, commands level of respect that no performance ever could. This doesn't mean she doesn't give. In fact, it's the opposite. She can give more because she's not afraid of losing herself in the process. Her giving comes from fullness, not emptiness. From power, not pressure. From desire, not desperation. She says yes when she means yes, and no when she means no. And both are delivered with grace, with clarity, with kindness. That level of authenticity is rare, and it creates an environment where real connection can happen, where both people can actually. Self-respect also shows up in how she reacts to her own needs. She doesn't shame herself for wanting to feel good. She doesn't apologize for having standards, desires, or emotions. She doesn't silence her voice out of fear that she'll be too much. She honors what she needs emotionally, mentally, and physically. And in doing so, she gives him permission to do the same. That's what real intimacy. Two people meeting with honesty, with trust, and with mutual reverence. Not performance, not perfection, but presence. Let's take it deeper. When you radiate self-respect, you raise the entire spiritual frequency of the connection. You show him and yourself that even in the rawest, most exposed version of you, you are still sacred. You're not giving your body just to be accepted. You're sharing your energy from a place of alignment. You're not trying to keep him. You're standing in your worth and saying, if you want to be here, meet me in this energy. Honor it. And if he doesn't, yes, you'll be fine. Because your value was never dependent on his approval. That's what shakes a man. That's what makes him look at you, not just with desire, but with respect. Too many women have been taught that their power lies in their ability to please. But the truth is, your real power lies in your ability to discern, to choose, to lead with values, not just vibes, to honor your body, your time, your energy is precious, because it is. And when you bring that kind of respect into your most intimate moments, the energy shifts. It becomes more than sex. It becomes more than sex. It becomes something sacred, something healing, something transformative, not just for him, but... So here's the truth, delivered without apology. You are not here to beg for love. You are not here to chase approval. You are not here to perform for attention. You are here to embody truth, to walk in grace, to share from overflow, not from lack, to give because you want to, not because you think it's what keeps him interested. And when you show up in that energy, when you radiate self-respect, even here, especially here, you don't just blow his mind, you elevate his soul. And more importantly, you rise into the highest version of yourself. That's the real power. That's the legacy you leave and you see in his memory and in your own spirit.